Hello, everybody. How are you doing? Welcome to my webinar, broadcasting live from Mexico City. Today is Wednesday, January 25th, 2017. This is your webinar, WoW Trades. Hope you enjoy it. My name is Alberto Alvarado. Here we go. Well, my traditional intro, you know why I sustain that it's very important that every time that you listen to somebody that would like to teach you something overall in this Forex arena, it's very important that you at least know something about his or her past. Again, my name is Alberto Alvarado. I have more than 10 years of experience as a trader. I am based in Mexico City. I was born in Mexico City also. I started trading in 2005 with my first live account of $10,000 at that time. And I lost all my account in less than 1 month. But that month worked and made me realize that trading was something that I really want to commit to, and that I really wanted to take seriously my self-education. So I started self-educating myself because at that time we didn't have such a tools like the ones we have now. The forums were not that evolved. There were very few webinars in the market in the forex arena. And by 2007, I started grasping the first results of my efforts, just to see again my live account evaporate in 2008 because of the financial crisis that we all know. At that time, I had to decide whether to continue or to leave it, to quit. I decided to continue at a very high personal cost. But well, since I wanted to really make it worth, I had to realize that, for example, what I consider my edge that time was not complete, and the 2008 crisis helped me to know and to realize about that. So I decided to include emotional and creative elements into my trading, and not only rational ones, trying to understand the markets just by the rational way. And it ended up working very nicely for me. And the result of that's what you're going to see here, how I understand the markets. Of course, I use traditional tools like technical analysis, the basic ones, MACD, stochastics, RSI, Bollinger Bands. I have been receiving lately some messages insisting me on revealing, let's use this word, the typical configuration of my indicators. Well, my indicators, I don't even bother to switch them. I only open them, the standard in the charting package that I use, and I use that. I'm not tweaking and optimizing the indicators. And well, just wanted to note that if the ones asking me that lately are around here now, just to let you know that. The trick is not to start tweaking every time the indicators, the parameters, but instead of that, switching your mindset to adapt to the current trading conditions. Besides that, well, I use traditional elements like fundamental analysis, and well, with the hope that what you see here works as an inspiration for you to find your own path into this very complex but satisfying trading world. For the ones that haven't subscribed to my free YouTube channel, I suggest you to do so. Don't worry, you don't have to subscribe now. You will receive a recorded version in your email after assisting to this webinar, and then you could, with calm, go there, type the things, and subscribe, check my videos there. It's for free. It's in YouTube. You type in the search box what you see here, IBB's Trading Room channel, as it is in here. This will show up my picture, and you click subscribe. Again, don't do it now. When you receive the recorded version, you will have plenty of time to check it out. Today's menu, guys and gals. Now, today, Wednesday, January 25, we have 4 basic things that we're going to talk about. The first one, of course, is Donald Trump swearing in aftermath. We had very important things related to Mexican peso trading. That is why my second point is United States dollar versus Mexican peso trading opportunities. We're going to check that out and how that and how that has evolved lately, because there's been and there will be continuing existing very important trading opportunities in this market. And the other one's to check out the pound and pound crosses because of the Brexit again. But now, yesterday, the British Supreme Court decided to rule on Brexit, basically saying that the Prime Minister May cannot by herself pull the trigger on Article 50 to start the separation process between UK and the European Union. She needs the approval of the Parliament. So yeah, that will have, and it's already having very important consequences in the markets, and we will check them out also. What you're seeing here is the British pound versus the United States dollar. Okay, basically Brexit, gap after Brexit. For the ones following for long enough my webinars, you realize that I've been saying over and over again this gap, and this gap. Why? Because the markets tend to look for closing the gaps, and at times when they cannot make it in the short term, at the first signal that they can't close it, they will look to close it, even if they don't have fundamental reasons to do that. I'm telling you this because apparently, and the reading I am doing the pound is that maybe the pound is the only thing that it's sustaining the bullish movement that we started some days ago after having Miss May clarifying to the markets that yes, Brexit will happen. It's going to be the hard way. I mean, quitting to the common market stuff and all that. The market reacted positively. I'm going to get in depth in that matter in some minutes that I open a intraday chart, but just wanted to let you know that. Just check this out. This gap is at the 136.78. Let's close it to the 137. And I expect that the market is moving, and it's trying to finally try to close this gap. I will explain you why. Okay, here in very small detail, the gap of 1 week ago, when there were fears of a hard Brexit, okay, and just after confirming the hard Brexit, the market just started moving up. Okay, let's move to the 4-hour chart to check a little bit more. Okay, this is what I am talking about. The pound at this level, this was Friday last week. Then we had this gap to the downside because the markets were fearing a hard Brexit. But as you already know, and if you've been following my webinars for long enough, you have heard here tons of times that the job of the markets is to anticipate the scenarios. So the markets, they only react with fear, with a lot of volatility when there is something that they didn't anticipate. For example, a very deviated fundamental number, a very deviated jobs report, some accident of a president, whatever. Only the things that are really unforeseeable that the markets didn't factor in with time and beforehand are the ones that will cause unexplainable movements. But in this case, this gap to the downside was very suspicious because it was testing the 1.2 that was the previous level, and I'm going to switch quickly to the daily chart for the ones that have been following for long enough. I've been talking about in the webinar. This is daily chart. This is the huge pound chart candle that we had on October the 6th. Almost a drop of 400 pips in less than 5 minutes. I commented here during these webinars that this should and shall indicate the end for the bearishness on the pound. After that, the market stabilized at that zone, flirt with these levels again. That is the one that I am just explaining in the 4-hour chart. Here it is. It retested the previous lows, or almost the previous low, at the 1.2, that psychological level. Here we have Miss May confirming dissipating doubts. My initial reading was that the markets rewarded this doubts dissipation, and that they rewarded it buying pound. Why? Because yes, then the markets realized that they anticipated correctly a hard Brexit, and a hard Brexit was quoted at the least acceptable price of 1.2 dollars per pound. Okay, so it started moving up. That was my initial reading. Okay, then we had here the Donald Trump swearing in as president. So we have two events mixing in this latest week, and it's very important because this will most likely shape the way we're going to trade this year. Having Miss May at least dissipating at that point, the doubts created like a temporary, in my opinion, safe haven for the investors that were kind of fearful of if Donald Trump would apply or not all the ideas that he has demonstrated he wants to apply in the United States, and that helped the pound to move up. Then we had here a very curious thing that we're going to check when we get to the 1 hour. In the Donald Trump speech, it happened something 1 hour before that apparently is ruling now the markets and how the market is behaving, and it continued moving up to the 125. Then it stabilized a little bit there, and it's continuing going higher. Okay, let's go to the 1 hour. Remember, this is the overall that, in my opinion, the market is heading to the 137. Just because the market just found an excuse to close that gap, that doesn't mean that since this latest United Kingdom Supreme Court saying that Miss May couldn't pull the Article 50 by herself, that means two things. The uncertainty is back in the markets because we don't know exactly the final shape of Brexit, how soft or hard it will be, because Miss May was very clear that it's going to be a hard one. And it factors in uncertainty and stability in time, because we have no idea how long this will take again. That should not have a positive effect on pound. That doesn't mean that we will have a sell-off continuing, but maybe we're going to be biased a little bit to the downside. I'm going to explain you why I believe that this is a temporary anomaly in the pound market. This is the 1 hour chart. This is the Monday gap when there were fears that actually a hard Brexit will happen. As you can see, the markets were bullish on a hard Brexit confirmation. The only thing that confirms is that the markets long before were anticipating a hard Brexit, and the moment it was verified, they just saw no longer reasons to continue holding shorts, but instead of that, maybe start grabbing some profits. Okay, so that is why all those markets, all those big players started taking positions and started making this movement. At that moment, I believe that the other thing that helped the pound was that it was created a temporary atmosphere of safe haven on holding pound instead of dollars because of the uncertainty of Donald Trump and having no uncertainty of a Brexit. Okay. Then we have this sell-off here, and here is the January 20th. I don't know if you're a trader, you should have been following the swearing in of Donald Trump, whether you like the man or not, because those are important things that you need to watch and to watch for details. Being a trader is that. Being a trader is being aware of important events in the world. It happened 1 hour before Donald Trump started swearing in as president. He started, there was a senator, I believe it was one important senator in the Congress of the United States, that started saying, it was a very important figure of the Republican Party, the party that won majority in Congress and for the one Donald Trump was a candidate. When this senator was asked what he thought on Donald Trump's economics, the way he understands economics, he said something very clear, but very calmly. Bottom line, what he said is that the president needs to understand that the North American bloc, commercial bloc, is integrated, and the final result of any change should have that considered, and that he was very sure that the president will understand that. At that moment, I took some risks buying pound, and I'm going to explain in some minutes why I was selling dollars and buying Mexican pesos. From that moment on, the market just ignored Donald Trump. No matter how hard and aggressive was his inauguration speech, the market was like moving in a direction of certainty. Yes, my reading on that is that for the first time since Donald Trump was running for presidency, after winning the the elections, 1 hour before he swearing in, there was the first Republican figure saying or letting know the markets between the lines that no, Mr. President, we won't accept any kind of idea that is not between some limits of reality. So the markets immediately started moving, and you will see that next in the Mexican peso. That it's been the worst performer since Donald Trump won the presidency because of obvious reasons. So at that moment, I decided to, and in that moment, of course, we were not having webinars, to take a long opportunity here. Okay, I closed it at the 124, but it even continued to the 125. Just retraced, and even though having, I want you to check this out. Yes, this was the UK ruling on Brexit. In my mind, and as I have always stated in the webinar, you need to picture something beforehand in your head before pulling the trigger. You need to have scenarios in your head of, okay, if that happens, how I understand it, how I believe that then that will hit the market, the dollars, the pound, etc. When you have 1 week before saying Miss May, Brexit is Brexit, it's going to be a hard one, and you have this reaction, and then you have here the UK Supreme Court saying that, yeah, but she's not going to pull Article 50, having, again, uncertainty on the timing, uncertainty on the exact final shape, how the Parliament could mix or fix the final result of Brexit. The only reaction of the markets was this. It was very curious to see that the markets really didn't do what I expected in that scenario. It made a bottom here and started moving up. Then here, I realized that in the 30, 1 hour, 4 hour, we had still bullish signals. And from this moment on, the only thing that is sustaining, in my opinion, the movement to the upside due to this and this uncertainty factor that it's already in, Ms. May took that uncertainty factor out, and some days later, the Supreme Court added that uncertainty factor of we don't have an idea when Brexit will happen. And then the markets did this, jumped on the support, on this 125, started moving up. Now it's retracing. As you can see, it's heading to retest these levels. You need to take responsibility in any kind of risks that you could decide to take on pound because it's volatile. The only thing that and the only objective of this webinar is to approach you the relevant information so you can have your own ideas. When you have this kind of behavior, when somebody dissipates doubts, no matter if they are not good, but there was no surprise for the markets anymore to have a hard Brexit scenario. We had the months to digest that. The only thing that we, as market, we wanted to know was that we had some certainty in. Then we have the uncertainty back, and the market's still bullish. This means either two things. Either the movement is over now, and we are going to resume maybe a bearish trend to move from these levels to maybe the range of 1.2 to 126 more or less, and to move in this range for the next months at least. But the only reason for this to continue to the 137 is to close that gap. It was very curious for me that yesterday I had very clear buying bias on the 30-minute chart, the 1 hour chart, and the 4 hour chart. It's not coincidence. I got to that conclusion here. I took some risks at that moment in market just to have this retesting down and up. You can check out my YouTube channel and some videos I upload there that I talk about on this precise scenario. And it just moved up, it broke up this resistance, and now it's pretending to retest it. Unfortunately, since we have the only reason to be bullish now is that gap to the 137, that it's a valid one, because the markets don't like when the gaps are there without being able to be filled, and it's been for a long time that that gap is open. So maybe this momentum was good enough, because look at the volumes. These are volumes. This is Miss May speech volume. Look at this. It's not even comparable to the UK ruling. So what I believe is that this is heading to the 137. So, well, just bottom closing this idea, be very, very cautious in trading pound now. There are a lot of good opportunities because of the volatility here, yes, and maybe we are in that optimal moment where it works the risk to consider opening some trades here. If you go long, you need extra verification, because the only thing that could be sustaining any movement is the pure will of the market to close that gap, period. So you can expect maybe small movements to the upside and then quick sell-off. So be aware of that. In any case, we get to the 137, then that moment you could simply sit on your hands and wait, because you can expect at that level the market really moving with a lot of volatility. And if you decide to look for bearish opportunities on the pound, you can be a little bit more stressed. That doesn't mean that you simply cannot do your own analysis, but at least you know that the uncertainty is going to play bearish on this in the range of the 120 to the 126 at least. Quickly, let's go to the Mexican peso, because I'm aware that this is not the most popular tradable asset out there, but it's been great to trade since Donald Trump, because it has generated a lot of volatility in the Mexican peso. I don't have and even if I am a trader and I am able to profit from this kind of movements, this is hitting badly the Mexican economy. So I am not happy in that side, right? But well, this is my job, this is what I do, and I'm able to profit from this, and I'm very happy to share my insights here. This is a historic lifetime highs in Mexican peso versus dollar versus Mexican pesos. 22 pesos per dollar. We have had a tremendous, let's go to the daily, first. This is daily chart, dollar versus Mexican peso. This is Donald Trump winning. It soared from the 18.5 up to the 21. Then stabilize here and continue to the 22. And if I zoom out weekly, this is the behavior of the peso since 2014. Basically, since 2011, it has been in a continuous devaluation. So this is only exacerbating the problems. Again, this is daily. This is daily, and this is Donald Trump election. I believe we have a question. Let me check it out. Here it says, okay. Here I have a question. Hello, how are called the top two indicators below the chart and the name of your platform? I will be switching to use the binary.com MT4, I believe, or it's MT5. By the way, for the ones that don't know, binary.com released that version, I believe, 1 month ago, and it's very nice and good looking. I will switch this charting package to that, but I am in the ultimate adaptations. But answering your questions, Anatoly, this is volume, okay? This is MACD, this is RSI, and this is stochastic with the standard parameters. I don't even know the parameters here. MACD is 12, 26.9, RSI is 14, stochastics is 5.3. This is, I believe, fastest stochastics. So yeah, that is it. And I only use it to confirm some things when I do technical analysis. And never, ever I allow that an indicator tells me my bias. It only works to confirm my bias. Okay, let's continue. So this is the daily chart. Let's move to the 4-1. And follow me with this because the Mexican and overall, there's a lot of fear since Donald Trump got elected. And the first things that he's doing is pretty much confirming the fears of the markets that yes, actually he meant all the things that he said on economics. He's very willing to, in my opinion, experiment on new things on the American economy, and that will simply flip the ship of the economy worldwide. So the markets are kind of nervous. We're kind of nervous. This is Donald Trump swearing in as president. We had that senator saying that, like in between the lines, Mr. President, don't think that the Congress will avail and will approve everything that you say just because you believe it and just because you're Republican. That's what I believe that actually that statement meant. And the market reacted accordingly because they said, okay, if we're going to have a natural and real counterweight on Donald Trump's new policies, maybe there is no reason to be that fearful anymore. So then the market started selling off. This is the Mexican peso. It dropped from the 22 to the 121.30. And then stabilize here, try to move higher. Now retesting this resistance of this double top. Okay. It is moving down again, and maybe it's going to stabilize here. Let's move to the 1-hour chart. Why I'm showing you Mexican peso? Because I said in a webinar, I don't remember the date here, that if you're really willing to have an idea on the potential consequences of the free trade approach of Donald Trump in the world, you need to watch Mexican peso. Because it's the only free floating currency of an emerging market that where you will have an amplified effect of all these ideas that Donald Trump wants to apply in the United States. According to the reading of these charts, this is precisely the moment where that congressman started saying that. Look at the consequences. Selling off, selling off, selling off. Here we have this candle. Maybe it's not that visible for you. It's a big candle, a big wick here. This is when Donald Trump in the speech was saying that he was going to close the borders, that he was going to do a lot of things that people were surprised that actually he was mentioning that in the speech of inauguration. But then the market just decided to ignore Donald Trump. And this is an important thing. This behavior in the bottom line means that the market simply decided to ignore Donald Trump. And the markets were the only person that they were listening to for long. And this is very important because maybe this is sending a message to the market, okay, let's chill out a little bit, not because he's Republican and he has Republican majority means that he's going to be able to do all the things that he wants. The market continues selling off, selling off. Then we have the weekend happening, then we have the Monday opening here, we made this low, okay, and then we stabilized at the 21.3. The market tried to retest this resistance zone. I'm going to draw a line here. It made it up to here just to continue to sell off. Now it's retesting this. So what this means, my personal opinion, I'm sharing this with you because I believe this is relevant for this topic. I believe that explanation for Donald Trump's speech is because he feels already isolated. Because 1 hour before, having a congressman saying for the first time since you won this is not precisely what you can call a supporter, right? There is some gossip in the United States in the markets that actually even when Donald Trump has the power to withdraw the United States from the NAFTA agreement by himself, at some point it can be reverted by the Congress. So this signal was something that the markets were looking desperately since Donald Trump was elected, but none of the congressmen, none of the Republicans were outspoken on this. So now that we had this simple word said, the markets are simply ignoring Donald Trump. They are like more interested in listening to congressmen in the United States, things that could develop in the Supreme Court, not directly Donald Trump. And that switches the balance. I'm not getting to the details of the political consequences of this and how that could hit the markets, because that will be very exhausting and kind of boring if you're not that interested in politics. But what we need to take care is on this. The markets tend to react on Donald Trump's tweets. The markets tend to sell off every stock of every company if Donald Trump said after being elected, saying that he didn't agree on the price of the new Air Force One, for example. But apparently the markets are done with that. So from now on, you all and me need to take care and to watch more closely on what the congressman in the United States and the Supreme Court says, or what they don't say. Not precisely Donald Trump anymore. And this is the proof. According to the speech of Donald Trump, Mexican peso, that is the weakest currency against any potential change of bias of Donald Trump. The logic thing was that this should have, from this moment on, soared to the 23 pesos per dollar, at least, and it didn't happen. That brings us chances, as I said before, to open maybe some trades in pound, because the real uncertainty in the markets, even if it's back in the pound, it's not that high. Because before in the pound was Brexit uncertainty plus Donald Trump uncertainty. Now we only have Brexit uncertainty, but maybe some kind of certainty that if necessary, the Congress could simply sabotage proposals by Donald Trump. Overall, if that means quitting everything and leaving all the NAFTA agreement and do whatever he wants. So it's important this. Even if you trade or not the Mexican peso, watch it closely. And imagine that when you're seeing this, you're seeing the thermometer of the potential switches of Donald Trump. If you see this going quickly to the upside, that means that uncertainty is back. And the most recommended thing is that you simply sit on your hands and not to trade, because that means that everything is going to be erratic. As long as these levels are respected, I mean that the Mexican peso doesn't go decisively above, let's say, the 2165, 2167, you could more or less trust that if you decide to open a trade, it won't be spoiled by all of a sudden because of something irrelevant. Market structure will tend to prevail below Mexican peso being below 21.7. Whether you decide to open something in pound, check always this. If you decide to open something in euro, check this, because now Donald Trump is the factor to consider, and as long as this is below 21.7 means that the markets are willing to kind of ignore temporarily Donald Trump and just wait to see what the congressmen say on his monetary policy and all that. As you can see, the market retested here the 121.6, sold off to the 121.4, and now it's retesting this line. More or less this line, for you to have a reference, is 21.46. Let's put it 21.5 for references, okay? It's time to call it a webinar. I would like to thank you all for showing up. Just my latest appreciations on this. Unfortunately, I was not expecting the Supreme Court saying that what the Supreme Court said. Why? Because I was really hoping the Supreme Court simply says, okay, there is no reason to continuing with these arguments, leaving or not leaving the EU for the sake of UK economic stability. I was thinking in the latest webinar I said that apparently this latest speech of Ms. May could open huge opportunities on the pound. Unfortunately, those were ruled out at the moment. The UK Supreme Court ruled this way. At least for inertia, we could have bullish momentum to the 137 pounds. Yes, taking extra risks, and only if you decide to have extra confirmations. The natural thing to wait is that the pound will move between 126 to the 120. Kind of erratic? Yeah, maybe. So be aware of that. Donald Trump's factor, you can now master it in the Mexican peso chart as long as the peso is below 21.7. So let be that, at least in this week, your thermometer. While Mexican peso is below 21.7, maybe means that the markets are more or less calm. If you decide to go long on pound, watch for that at the very moment that you receive hesitation, you go out of the trade. If you go long, if you go there in the cable, well, at least you know that you're trading with the fundamentals. Uncertainty is back. So I believe that is pretty much for today. I would have liked to have more. Like I thought last week that today I will have like 2, 3 trades to talk about. Well, unfortunately not because of this. Any case that I find something interesting, something relevant, I will share it to you in my YouTube personal channel. Again, go there and subscribe. Are some videos that you can find helpful on the insights of the market. So I invite you strongly to go there. I would like to thank binary.com for the opportunity of sharing my ideas here, and to thank tremendously Sharice because of the hosting and all of the support. Remember that I expect you next week at the same time, same place. You will receive an email at this time. So remember to trade safe, be safe. This is Alberto Alvarado, and bye-bye.